All right, guys, bear with me for a second. I'm just trying to clarify something. I want to know, is Jesus God or not? Or is he just part of God? Or is he created afterwards? Is he created or is he eternal? Is there two, a Father and Son, Godhead? Did they always eternally exist? Or was there a Son that came after the physical Son was born, and then there was a Son? Or was there always a Son? Even before he had a body, there was a Father and Son in eternity. This is a very important thing to meditate on because, the Jehovah Witnesses will tell you that they believe he's the Son of God. They also call him Michael the Archangel, but they'll go as far as to say, and there are cults out there that say they believe Jesus is the Son of God, and they worship him, and they'll give you all that language and rhetoric that you want to hear, but it's just rhetoric, shallow, superficial language. It's a smokescreen, because in the big picture, they don't really believe that Jesus is eternal with the Father, that kind of deity, that kind of eternity, that kind of quality, right? So they just use language that sounds good, but they really don't believe. And God knows whether you believe in him or not. It is a mystery to kind of figure out the language and the teaching. Jesus said the Father is greater than me, and that's something we have to wrestle with and deal with. But at the same time, we know the Spirit is equal, they're of the same eternal Spirit. And one of the things we have to wrap our heads around is that Jesus, the Son of God, is both eternal and a time and space created being. In other words, he put on a human body at some point in time. That had a beginning. The baby Jesus that was born from the Virgin Mary, that began at a certain time. The question is, did that Son Spirit of God exist eternally as the creator force in the beginning? Let us make man in our image. And of course, the scriptures teach us that the Father and Son do coexist eternally together in a relationship before the foundation of the earth. The question is, why is it so hard for people to say Jesus is God? Why? That doesn't take away from the Father, does it? Does it take away from the Father? Somehow they have a problem with saying Jesus is God. And I'm really trying to pin down why. Why do people have a problem with that? They say he's the Son of God, but not God. And in eternity, in unity, that is irrelevant. Father and Son distinction is irrelevant in terms of the eternal Godhead and who Christ, the Son of God, is and what he came out of and what he is, what he's part of. You could say he's part of God. People say, I believe he's part of God, but he's not God. Now that makes no sense. I don't get that. He's part of God, but he's not God. That's like saying, my hand is part of me, but my hand's not me. This is my body is my temple. Or you could say, I guess they're trying to make the case that, you're not your physical body. Let's play it like this. You're not your hand, you're not your body. There's something inside you. Your soul is who you really are. You could say that about Jesus. The physical body, the elements of the flesh, the stomach and, the bones and the flesh of his human side is not really the essence of who God is, but the Spirit in him is God. And I just don't get why, if we have Christ, those who have Christ don't recognize who he is. Like, that's God. Okay? And I guess the problem is there's a contradiction of mind in your mind. How can two be one? Like there's a Father and Son talking together in eternity, and how can two be one? That's hard for man to wrap their head around. So we have to separate them in carnal thinking and human thinking. We can't see that as one. Jesus said, me and the Father are one. They're of the same eternal Spirit, yet there's a relationship. So both are true. One is the same as two. Both are one. And so to me, I've just accepted that. I go, you know what? I said, I'm not going to get confused by it, because you can your head can spin around trying to rationalize the Godhead and the relationship between the Father and Son. I simplify it. I keep it simple. Okay? I keep it simple. Jesus is God, and he's a human being, and people don't understand he's both. How can Jesus be praying to God if he's God in the Garden of Eden? That question is common to carnal-minded people. They don't understand that Jesus is both God's spirit and flesh. So God is playing both roles. That is in the Garden of Eden. That's clear. But you might say, well, why would God do that? That doesn't make sense. That's your problem for not understanding why God would do that. I don't know why God would do that. Okay? But it's not my job to try to explain all the mysteries that I can't even figure out about God. All I know is the Bible teaches that God became a human being. And that resonates with me. And I don't have a problem saying it. I don't have a problem pronouncing it. I don't have a problem demanding that my fellowship Christians believe that. And if they don't believe that, I got a problem with them. And I don't even really want to be around people who don't know that or believe that. Now, I'm not saying don't give people a chance. Don't attack people and don't come after people and don't hurt people. If I've done that to people, I'm sorry, and I think I have. Demanding right away that people get it. It's quite a learning process for some people, and I'm sorry. I realize that I need to let God reveal that. I can't beat that down somebody's throat and beat it in their head and say, you're going to know, you're going to believe this or else, And if they don't in time, then I just depart from those people. I can't be around people who don't recognize or accept. And I'm talking about people who just reject, no matter how many scriptures you show them, no matter how much time you give them, they just simply will not, cannot, and refuse to honor the Son as they honor the Father. That's what Jesus said in John chapter 5, I believe. John chapter 3 to 5, you'll see him talking, and those who dishonor me like that, he is supposed to get the same honor as the Father. Do you realize that? How do you honor the Father? Oh, he's God. But you dishonor the Son that way. No, he's not God. He's the Son. He inherits everything. He inherits the name. He inherits the throne. He inherits the power. He inherits the authority. But he doesn't inherit Godship. Oh, that doesn't make any sense. Of course he inherits Godship. Of course the Son is exactly like the Father. He's the only begotten Son. That's why the only begotten Son is important language, because there is no one like that. He's the only one who is like God. The angels are not like God, although they're oftentimes referred to as God angels and different things like that. They're so closely related that gets confusing to people too. And God can appear in the form of an angel if he wants. He can appear in, I don't want to get into that. I'm just talking about Jesus right now, because you got to make your mind up how much you love the Son and how much you believe in the Son and what you know about the Son and how you identify the Son. And why do you worship Jesus if he's not God? I mean, it's confusing because people will say, I worship Jesus, but he's not God. So you're telling me you worship something that's not God? Isn't that idolatry? God doesn't want you worshiping anything but him, his Son, through him. See, God's in his Son. When you deny the Son, you're denying God. Those who deny the Son of God like that are denying the Father. And you might say, no, I believe in Jesus. I'm not denying him. Yeah, you are. You're denying his quality of Godship. You don't believe that he's Godship, Godness, his royalty of being God in the Spirit of God and eternally God. He's not created. He didn't just somehow appear one day. Okay? He's equal with the eternal Spirit of God. He's one with God. And we got to honor him as God like that. And you have to understand, that's not taking away from the Father. That's not taking anything away from the Father. Why? Because Hebrews chapter 1 tells us that God wants us to worship his Son. Okay? God wants us to honor his Son that way. And so when we don't, then we are not doing the will of God, because the will of God is what? To behold the Son. The work of God is to behold the Son, and the will of God is to worship Jesus. And when we don't do that, and just listen to people carefully. I'm not around people who cannot simply say, Yes, he's the Son of God, but he's also God. Their one spirit is God. The Spirit is one, right? So Jesus is just as much God as the Father, right? And so it's the same Spirit in both. You might say, well, that sounds like the oneness thing where, there's no distinction. There is a distinction still. There's still a Father and Son from eternity. Okay? Don't take away from that relationship because you believe in oneness. There's a lot of people who refuse to believe in a Father, Son in eternity because they know the one Spirit is the foundational spirit in both. There's one Spirit in both. They call that oneness. They don't honor the relationship between the Father and Son in eternity past. That's a problem too, because the scriptures clearly show that there's a we, let us make man in our image, our image. So there's more than one, but there's one, and that's hard. It can be very confusing, but I've made my mind up. To get away from all the confusion, I simply say, I may not be able to explain it, articulate it, or know how the equation works, but I choose to believe that Jesus is God and human, and there's a Father. And I'm not going to use the word Trinity because people freak out over that. But Jesus and the Father are God together, and they've always existed in a relationship. And he became a man. He, the God became a man. The Father lived through the Son. The Son's Spirit came in the body. Both the Father and Son. Jesus says, if you believe in me and keep my words, me and the Father will come live inside you. John 14:23. A lot of times people will use the 4-letter tetragram. I think that's what it is, the Yadhe, Hadhe, YHWH letter for God, and that's not how God wants you to address him. Okay? God wants you to address him through Jesus, Yeshua. You want to call him something Hebrew, call him Yeshua, right? But don't try to put the Father title on top of the Son, because what happens is the Hebrew roots people do that. The Torah keepers do that. The lost Israelites who claim to know God and dishonor the Son use that name. That's not the name that the Son of God is coming. He's coming as the Son of the Father. And we are to behold the Son of God, not go around him and go straight to the Father. The Father does not want you to go around the Son to get to him. And when people use that 4-letter tetragrammaton, the 4 letters, the I am that God gave Moses, when they use that to address God, and nobody realizes that these people that are doing that, you'll catch them sometimes and you'll go, well, I mean Jesus. Well, if you mean Jesus, then say the Son of God. Okay, if you mean the Son of God, then say the Son of God. For those who believe in the Son of God shall be saved. Okay, and people are tricky. I'm not going to stand for it. Okay, I need to be more patient and kind and meek and gentle in my processing all this with people. And I understand that, and I'm wrong, and I apologize for being hard, right? But you got to draw the line, and you got to make it known. And this is what we believe, and this is why I believe it. And I'm not going to be hanging around people who dishonor Jesus. He's God in flesh. And here's a little secret before I let you go. As long as you worship the Son, you will be worshiping the Father. Don't worry about worshiping the Father. He's made a process and a procedure to come to him. And we go to him and we find him when we find the Son. The question is, have you found the Son? And do you really know who he is? Do you really know that he's God in flesh? I hope you do. I love you guys. Peace.